Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am excited to talk to Mia Loya today. She is a holistic nutritionist and stress strategist. She has created the Well-Fed Warrior System to help leaders and their families lead healthy lives. Mia is a member of the International Sports Science Association and has her master's in holistic nutrition, allowing her to customize nutrition plans and protocols. She is the host of the Divine Nourishment podcast and believes each person deserves how to know how to equip their mind and fuel their bodies for success in business and in life. Welcome to the show today, Mia.
Thank you so much for having me, Felina.
Absolutely. So, San Diego native, that's rare. We don't have too many folks that were born and raised here in San Diego. I know you went to SDSU. What did you study at SDSU, and why did you decide to study what you the bachelor's degree that you chose?
Yeah, so I have my bachelor's degree in public administration, and it allows me to see both the public side of business and the private. Going into school, I didn't really know that that was what I was getting into, but then having classes in public finance and talking about taxes, and really doing the managerial side of even politics, really just showed me what it takes to build a good society with people doing what they need to do and, live the dream, if you will. My dad was a public servant before me, so I think there was a little bit of that influence. And I didn't end up running for mayor like he wanted, but I'm happy to be here and like that experience. Yeah.
Awesome. And you did a bit of a study abroad program.
Yeah. So the very end of my bachelor's degree, I was able to take most of those elective courses overseas in England, the University of Kent, which meant I actually got to see like economics globally. So I took like a social politics of food class and global business. And this was right when globalization was getting really popular. Now it's kind of the norm. And so it was great to have that perspective stepping into, what was next for me in my career.
Fantastic. All right. So you graduate from college and you set off into your career path. Where did you begin?
So I worked through college, retail sales. I have the personality to really just be out there, and I love people. I'm an extrovert by heart. And when I came back from studying abroad, I was almost gone for 9 months, just traveling and seeing the world, and really saw a need when it came to health and wellness, and stepped into a chiropractic office. They were a husband and wife team at that point. And they knew they wanted to grow and help families in the Kensington area. And I was there for just under 3 years. We went from 2 docs, I think, to 5, and saw many patients, lots of babies, lots of pregnant ladies. And as part of their admin team, I was running their nutrition there at the very end. And she was really a mentor to me. And after having the experience of seeing what it would look like to do vitamins, minerals, health protocols, she encouraged me to get my master's degree, and I did that. So that was my big experience that's relevant to kind of what I'm doing now. And then through grad school, worked and did my coaching business on the side.
Awesome. Okay. So you spent some time in retail. You worked for Tivana. You worked for Solo Eyewear for a little bit. So you have the retail side of experience. Talk about some of the work that you did, a bit of work, it looks like you did on the public service side.
Yeah. So AmeriCorps is similar to the Peace Corps. only you're not in a foreign country, you're here in the US. And the education reform program, I decided to really volunteer at. We were stipend, which was far less than what you could afford living in San Jose. This was
interesting.
Yeah, 2017 at this point. And we were on campus. I was at an elementary school, and these kiddos were underserved. They didn't get meals unless they were on campus sometimes. And so we were there being their mentors from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That entire school year. And it was a kind of publicly funded, Bill Clinton started the program. It's called City Year, and really is a personal development and professional development course. What was important for me was the funding behind that program was from Silicon Valley. So we had trainings at Google headquarters, and I made connections with the Microsoft team and got to see Oculus early and things like that. And so it really just planted this hunger to integrate technology with service.
Interesting. Awesome. That must have been quite an experience. I mean, and interesting that they put you in San Jose, this, one of the wealthiest places on the planet, and then to see the disparity, I'm sure that must have been tough.
Definitely. There's moments where we'd be in meetings with, development and that side of the organization, and then be what they would call boots on the ground, in the different elementary, middle school, and high schools, really inspiring STEM, which I think is important. And so we knew the data that if students could really get consistent with turning in their homework, knowing how to get good grades, the social part of public school, which is a whole nother conversation. That they made it to sophomore year, that their chances of actually graduating, of getting that GED and stepping into whatever business, and staying out of gang violence, things like that, would really expand. And so that was the main goal of this organization, and to this day still is how do we give them that support so that they can still stay on campus, finish their homework, and when they go home, there's none of that to worry about, and then they can come back and they have those mentors year after year.
Awesome. Great experience, I'm sure.
Definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, for sure. So you worked for this chiropractic office for a while. You launched your coaching business on the side. Talk about your coaching business and how that's evolved over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it greatly. If anybody listening has started a brand, the first 5 years are incredible, and attest to you and what you do for kind of always having that support system. Hera Hub's been huge in my journey when it came to entrepreneurship. But I was a yoga instructor, so did the public service, loved working out, and really was like, well, I'd love to be a teacher trainer. Have always had that performer energy, and love hosting events, and stepped into teaching yoga and the mindfulness side of it. And the Yoga Alliance is the international kind of registration board that they do, and I'll do workshops for them even still. And that really was the mindset piece. The coaching industry was getting really hot right around then, right pre-COVID, online, going live on Facebook. All of that was so new and so intoxicating and exciting. And so I began to influence in that way, and really just brought that yoga mindset of how do we bring mindfulness to the plate, was that kind of context in the beginning, and talking about my own journey, about how I would maintain, the weight that I wanted to stay at and not be hard on myself when it changed.
Yeah.
And it was personal in the beginning and really evolved as I did online summits. So the mentor that I had at the time was, really big on email marketing and kind of digitizing, creating what it was that how we saw our message, right? Making your mess into your message. And I started there, and it expanded. And then as I stepped into my final year of grad school, I was doing the case studies, so we were having that like recommendation to, have a specific joint client or a specific obesity client or a specific diabetic client. And so it got more and more clinical as those 2 years passed. But I'm so grateful I started my coaching business before the professionalism stepped in and licenses started and things, because it just helped me understand who I was as well as my brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about the brand, how you chose the name for the business, and then talk about kind of today. What are you focused on now? Who are your customers? How do you work? How do you support your clients?
So the Well-Fed Warrior actually came as an idea. I was reading Tribes, Seth Godin, I believe. I had read Purple Cow, I think, a long time ago.
I love that book. I love Seth Godin. He is like the coolest, right? I mean, he's so awesome.
Yeah. And read the books for one. And two, if like the understanding that it's about that customer, or I mean, I've never really had any of my sales feel super transactional. It's always been how to benefit people's lives. But like creating the brand around them made it so much easier for me, because it was like, we're pitching this concept, not so much, like what people can receive. And so I came up with Well-Fed Warrior, believe it or not, 4 months before the world shut down in the pandemic. I was heavily coaching at that point. It was, I'm Mia and trust I know what I'm, doing with yoga. And I was like, it needs to be something that people will resonate with and they can walk away from a program and say, I feel like a well-fed warrior. And that was really my goal. I was in Phoenix doing a brand shoot and some other things. And my cousin was like, well, the thing about Filipinos just love that everyone's well-fed. We always make sure everyone's well-fed. And I had really never heard like it in that context. I was very athletic and food is fuel. And I just really loved that name. And when I came back to a mastermind in Orange County where we were living at the time, someone was like, I think it's great because it doesn't necessarily need to be food, right? You can be fed in your soul. You can be feeding your ego at times. And so it really just began to show that nourishment is so important. And hence the podcast, the nourishment and divinity behind that is really the meditative space. So there's the headspace part of getting healthy and being a high performer. And then there's also, right, the actual what you need to eat and what I would consider chemical stress and how do we adapt to our modern world.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to the programs and kind of how I'm serving clients now, they're mostly in that business owner, C-suite level. They are managing people. They're in leadership roles. They're self-sacrificial is a little strong for me, but they will hustle, right? And think about those smaller things like getting a snack in or, finishing their workout after a 9-hour day a lot later. A lot of my clients in the last year have kiddos and they're little and, they wear one hat at work and there's like a special car time that's all their own. And then they step right into job B or, their motherhood, their fatherhood, who they need to be for their family. And so blending that dynamic is really important. But a lot of them are in charge of even their own incomes. And so I naturally am relating to that kind of commission-based sales hustle or management piece of the puzzle because I naturally speak that way. And believe it or not, with the administration background, we're able to step into businesses and really talk about how do we make things effective? How can you, pay yourself more? Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We are a stressed out society, that is for sure. And a lack of time. And it just, even the, the advances in technology just continue to make us feel more and more stressed out, frankly. It's not getting any better. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. How do your clients primarily find you?
I do grassroots networking here in San Diego. So I have a group of local clients now, which is fun because we are able to do some of it in person. But a lot of the marketing on LinkedIn, Pinterest as well. So I love having the blog component of what's going on. And then most of the event side of things is really yoga centered. I'm still teaching and guiding a lot of yoga. And so there's that natural extension into, oh, I need that mindfulness practice. I feel so good after this class. What more can I do? You don't typically leave a yoga class and want to go eat a bunch of pizza and whatever. Not that I don't love pizza, but
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, I know you're incredibly visible in the community, and your YouTube channel and some of your social posts. I mean, really you've really built a beautiful brand, Mia.
I appreciate that. And it's always evolving. What's next for me is looking at how we work with more than just the managers and the CEOs, the C-suite folks. How do we step into, even if it is the entire company or small teams of people, and, do things maybe on a quarterly basis from a perspective of employee engagement, and, having those kind of self-care events once a quarter and letting it kind of trickle into them personalizing their health.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see companies, more and more really prioritizing and understanding that healthy employees make productive employees?
So, yes, the research says that. I was grateful to speak at the National Association of Nutritional Practitioners. They have a HealCon conference every year. And when I was in school, I was a student presenter. And when I came out, this was the big project we worked on. And the research shows that, right, employee engagement goes up when they're feeling heard and seen, and that the programs they're dropping into is so much more than just money towards a gym membership, that it's participative, that it, is able to not be a one-way street, that they can involve their families, that there can be community around it. And so, what I termed was complex adaptive systems. And Deepak Chopra has research on this. And when we connect it with the corporate wellness side of business, those gaps begin to show up in where giving that membership or giving that stipend of $1,200 a year for health and wellness, people are just using the money and not necessarily benefiting.
Interesting. I love that. Just, really the whole approach, right? I mean, we as people have lives and families, and if you can really wrap health and wellness not only around the employee but also their community, everybody wins.
And the bigger organizations, right, the sexier jobs, the campuses, the tech companies, they're doing a lot of this, included in their campus. You want the nice cafeteria that's got options, and you want, the pickleball courts. And I mean, it's glamorized, but I think that even on a small level, it's possible. And, I'm grateful to be 10 minutes from Sorrento Valley and the Golden Triangle. And so there's just a lot of opportunity that I personally see. And the biggest, I think, difference that my program could make is that it is research backed. And that there could be this whole, kind of experiment evidence piece to it that biotech companies could participate in.
Absolutely. What are some of the things you're working on in the upcoming year, Mia, that you're excited about?
This program, actually, being out there and being able to pitch it. On the personal front, I'm currently 6 months pregnant when we're recording this. Yeah. It's our first kiddo, and we're both entrepreneurs. Thankfully, one of us is salaried, but, I worked really hard to be my own boss and to have time management and create a system for even my private practice that could adapt. And so being able to test that out and, take 4 months in the beginning of the year will be a very expansive time for me. I'll take my own coaching, I'm sure. But yeah, coming back, it will be, how do we build a team around me? I'd love to see the business grow into a board of directors, and let my vision kind of be supported by other people that are better at the other categories of business than I am.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, I am so excited for you, Mia. Congratulations on your pregnancy and building your family. And, the phrase goes, if you want anything done, ask a busy mom. We figure out ways to balance it all somehow. And sometimes I know a lot of moms that I've talked to say they were, able to actually scale their business. They were forced to scale their business and bring on a team after they had their first child. It really makes you, look at things differently.
Yeah. And be hungry for the goal, knowing that there's like legacy involved now.
Yes.
I think I've always had coaches around me mentoring me, where you're in a conversation of both and I really didn't want to be in this either or category or say, I'll sacrifice, with my family and just do the private practice part, knowing I had this bigger vision in mind. And we all have the same amount of time in a day. So it's like, do I spend the hours, in my private practice, or do we find the right people and really go bigger and help hundreds at a time? So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Mia, if folks want to reach out to you, get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I love having connections on LinkedIn. It's a great way for me to see what you're up to. It's a really social platform. It's turned into so much more, I think, in the recent years. So, reach out on LinkedIn. Let's get connected. I'd love to have a, coffee chat or see how I can support your business and your body as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Mia.
Great to be here.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.